G'day Australia, this is 25th of April 2023. Just like to do a deposition and allegations of crimes and corruption against us, myself and my son, over the last 13 years by state and federal governments, Liberal and Labor Party. We get no response from our politicians, our representatives in Parliament, state and federal. John Paul Lagrock has even tried to put me in prison 1 year for a year, and the prosecutors lied to the jury, claiming that he investigated the crimes and corruptions against us, when the fact is we discovered in court that, and it's court record, that John Paul Lagrock didn't investigate allegations of crimes and corruptions against us, and then proceeded to try and put us in prison. But we're still, again, fighting crime and corruption, and of course our Liberal representatives, we're in a Liberal electorate, Surface Paradise. We get no response from our politicians. Also got zero representation in government, zero representation in Parliament. We've got no access to rule of law in Australia. And on today, ANZAC Day, which commemorates our soldiers that are past and present, that have fought for the Commonwealth of Australia, Commonwealth meaning Commonwealth being, and we just don't have that. And of course we know that the Albanese government is now trying to establish changes to the constitution for Aboriginal representation in constitution and in Parliament, and we've got no representation whatsoever. We've got no voice, no access to rule of law, no due process, procedural fairness. We've been fighting corruption for year after year after year, where the Liberal and Labor Party just simply ignored us. I can show you a letter that I got from the Premier of Queensland, Anastasia Palaszczuk, or two letters. One was a referral from the Prime Minister Albanese, and one from herself, and referring to the Attorney General. It's the highest law office in Queensland and federal for that matter. But we have only one letter ever returned reply from the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice, and it was fraudulent. She claimed that I was actually her chief of staff. We weren't even in court. We were just appealing to her because the Legal Service Commission and the Crimes and Corruption Commission were refusing to do their duty, which is a criminal offence, refusing by the rule of law. So it's interesting to note too that our personal payroll tax, when I work in mining, I pay 40% tax, personal tax, and that goes to a government that does not represent us, and they're quite literally using our public courts against us. We're just littered with lawyers throughout the bureaucracies and the political parties that pretty much we've probably paid for. They've been handing out law degrees for the last 50 years, free of charge or at our expense, and we have no representation whatsoever of rule of law in Australia. As I said, we've been fighting organised crime in government, state and federal. Our courts are completely corrupted. Perjury is standard practice, theft, fraud, evidence, destruction of evidence. Even my emails have been hacked, my computer's been hacked, and it's directed at destroying, covering evidence in the latest map. So yeah, we shouldn't be paying personal tax whatsoever in Australia. It's destroying our economy, destroying manufacturing. We can't employ people to manufacture, we can't do anything, and it's just going to a corrupt government. And pretty much lawyers are simply there. Lawyers and judges have got one aim, and that's to bankrupt people, to use their public courts to commit crimes against us. And proven perjury, theft, fraud, time again, and it's pretty much standard practice for both Liberal and Labor Party. I've written to our state and federal members many times, showing evidence, but you never get a reply, not even email saying, do this, do that. And interestingly enough, the free chatbots, GPT and Bing and Bard, all reply instantly and tell you exactly what to do when you're dealing with government corruption. And this is pretty much all we've got to do with our own media, because our own free media in Australia, mainstream media, has pretty much been bought off absolutely by the government to cover up corruption. And so the ANZAC's fought and died for the Commonwealth of Australia. We're doing the same thing. We tried to start the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Party, and the AAC were, in fact, running a scam where they refused to count all our members. We have over 1,000 members, 1,400 members. It was growing all the time. They only allow us to submit to the AAC 550 members, make us wait 3 months and pay $500, and then claim that 100 of the members we submitted were invalid, and therefore we didn't have enough members. Even though we had over 1,000 members, they just refused to even count them. So they're not even counting all of our members, but they're not counting all of voters. So I'd say our electoral system is completely corrupted. And even when I complained to the then Governor General, which is Peter Cosgrove, we get no reply. So I actually sent an affidavit to the Queen's office and asked them to forward it to Peter Cosgrove directly. And of course he resigned, and the Parliament, Liberal and Labor, had an emergency sitting to change the Electoral Act. So yeah, we're in a really bad way in Australia. And again, it's sad that everyone is getting ripped off by the government so badly and blindly, and the media won't talk to you, and not even Rebel News will talk to you. I mean, it seems that Avi Yemen is just interested in talking to the village idiots on drugs and whatever. But anyway, so that's a message from me. It's a public educational video. It's not meant to do any personal harm to anybody. It's just purely education that Australia has been overtaken for decades by organised crime, and it's pretty much because they've been handing out law degrees to criminals. Okay, thank you for your time, and God bless those who served in the Commonwealth forces and died, paid the ultimate sacrifice, obviously. And my grandfather was in the Navy, and my family's all tied up with the military as well, but fighting for freedom. And that's what we're doing now, fighting for freedom. Freedom from corruption. Okay, thanks again. Cheers, bye.